Hi, I'm Pam Fox. Welcome to my live stream here on YouTube. We're going through the book of Genesis. Pull up my Bible here, and today we're going verse by verse. Last time we left off in chapter 35. Now we're in chapter 36. We're actually going to go through. We're going to kind of breeze through chapter 36. I'm going to read it. It's the genealogy. The family tree of Esau primarily is what's talked about in chapter 36, which isn't unimportant. All of these genealogies that we see in the Bible are very important, and they're very interesting to study. But we're not going to get into that kind of a study. We're going to go through it. I'll stop from time to time and just mention certain things that kind of stood out to me. But other than that, it's just the family tree of Esau. So remember Esau. He's the twin brother of Jacob, which is who we've been studying. His name comes up quite a bit as we study the life of Jacob. But there's not a whole lot about Esau. But he is Jacob's twin brother. He is the son of one of the sons of Isaac. Remember, it said that Isaac loved Esau and his wife Rebekah loved Jacob. And when Esau got angry at Jacob and he wanted to kill Jacob, they sent Jacob away to find a wife from their homeland, from their own clan. And then Esau responded by saying, well, they want to send my brother Jacob away because they think he's too good to marry a Canaanite woman. Basically, it was what Esau's thinking was. And so he went right out and took for himself Canaanite wives. I mean, it sounds like kind of a vengeful thing that he did. He was mad at his brother. They sent his brother away to protect him and to find a wife from a particular clan, their own family, and said that they didn't want him to marry a woman from Canaan. And so Esau goes right out and he actually marries 4 women, which we're going to see today. So I'm going to read through this, and then we're going to go right into chapter 37, which introduces the life of Joseph. Now, if you remember, if you're new, Joseph was Jacob's first son with Rachel, the one that he loved, the one that he worked for 14 years, the one that he wanted to marry, the one that he wanted to be his wife. He ended up having 4 wives, but Rachel was the one that he loved, but she was barren. And so he had these sons with the 2 handmaidens and with Rachel's sister Leah. And then he finally has a son with Rachel, and that was Joseph. And then he has another son with Rachel, and that was Benjamin. So we're going to go right into chapter 37 and start learning about the life of Joseph, which the rest of Genesis is mostly dedicated to the life of Joseph. So we're in Genesis chapter 36. Now, these are the generations of Esau, who is Edom. So Esau is Edom. That word Edom, I looked it up. It means red or scarlet. Remember when Esau was born, he was red. So Esau, aka Edom, and later we'll see an entire nation in Edom, which is located just to the east of Israel, on the border of Israel and modern day Jordan, is where Edom was, modern day Jordan. And that's where Esau and his ancestors lived. So verse 2, Esau took his wives of the daughters of Canaan, Adah, the daughter of Elon the Hittite, and Aholibamah, the daughter of Anah, the daughter of Zibeon the Hivite, and Bashemath, Ishmael's daughter, sister of Nebajoth. Now, interestingly, Bashemath was Ishmael's daughter. Remember, Ishmael was Esau's uncle. Remember, Ishmael, that was Abraham's first son. Remember, Abraham was promised an heir, and when decades went by and he had no children and he was an old man, so they ended up having a baby with his handmaiden because his wife was old and she was barren, and they conceived, and Ishmael was born. And then later, Isaac was born of his wife Sarah. So this Bashemath is one of Ishmael's daughters. So it was his cousin. which again, this is, we see this a lot in these old Bible days, this intermarrying within the family. I just find it interesting. So Bashemath, Ishmael's daughter, sister of Nebajoth, which was Ishmael's son. I think it was his firstborn son. Verse 4, and Ada bare to Esau Eliphaz, and Bashemath bare Ruel. And Aholibamah bare Jeush, and Jalam, and Korah. These are the sons of Esau, which were born unto him in the land of Canaan. So it mentions these three wives right here, but there was another scripture, we read it just a few chapters ago, where Esau was talking about how, they're sending Jacob away because he's too good to marry the Canaanites. And it said that he married this Bashemath and also Judith. So she's not mentioned here. So I believe Esau had 4 wives altogether, just like Jacob, his twin brother, had 4 wives. Between Leah and Rachel and the 2 handmaids, he had the 4 wives. So verse 5, and Aholibamah bare, I already read that. Verse 6, and Esau took his wives and his sons and his daughters and all the persons of his house and his cattle and all his beasts and all his substance, which he had got in the land of Canaan, and went into the country from the face of his brother Jacob. So remember, we just had this big reunion, this big reconciliation. Jacob has been off working for his father-in-law for 21 years. He's coming back home and he meets Esau on the way. Remember that? And he kept going, sending all these gifts ahead because he was afraid Esau was coming out to slaughter his whole family. And then they ended up having a reconciliation where there was lots of kisses and hugs. So Esau lived in Canaan. His entire household, his clan lived there in Canaan. And now here comes Jacob back into Canaan with his clan. And it says that Esau took his whole family and their wealth and their animals, and it says they left. It says they went into the country from the face of his brother Jacob. For, it says, verse 7, for their riches were more than that they might dwell together, and the land wherein they were strangers could not bear them because of their cattle. So they both had so much livestock that Esau decided to take his household and move on and go somewhere else and let Jacob live there, because the land couldn't support both of their households because they had so much cattle. Cattle, they have to go out to pasture and eat. They have to have lots of land for that. Verse 8, thus dwelt Esau in Mount Seir. Esau is Edom. In other words, it's saying that again, Esau, aka Edom. So that's where they lived. They lived in Mount Seir. Verse 9, and these are the generations of Esau, the father of the Edomites, in Mount Seir. So now it's going to go through this. It's coming back to Esau. So I'm not really sure why. I think that these genealogies are really important in the Bible because they give credence, or they give weight to the documentation of these families, that they were real families that existed in real time. It's no different than any other historical document where they would have listed the genealogies. So we've already done this with Jacob, and now they're doing it with his twin brother Esau. So let's just read through it. These are the generations of Esau, the father of the Edomites, in Mount Seir. These are the names of Esau's sons: Eliphaz, the son of Ada, the wife of Esau; Ruel, the son of Bashemath, the wife of Esau. And the sons of Eliphaz were Teman, Omar, Zepho, and Gatam, and Kenaz. And Timnah was concubine to Eliphaz, Esau's son, and she bare to Eliphaz Amalek. These were the sons of Ada, Esau's wife. And these are the sons of Reuel: Nahath, and Zerah, and Shema, and Mizah. These were the sons of Bashemath, Esau's wife. And these were the sons of Aholibamah, the daughter of Anah, the daughter of Zibeon, Esau's wife. And she bare to Esau Jeush, and Jalam, and Korah. These were dukes of the sons of Esau: the sons of Eliphaz, the firstborn son of Esau, Duke Teman, Duke Omar, Duke Zepho, Duke Kenaz. So now it's repeating these same names, only it's putting a Duke in front of them. And I honestly really don't understand why. I tried to look it up, and it sounds like it was a title given to them. I don't see this elsewhere in the Bible, though, where they name their children with this title of Duke Omar, Duke Zepho, Duke Kenaz. But this is what it's going to do as we go through this. Verse 16, Duke Korah, Duke Gatam, Duke Amalek. These are the dukes that came of Eliphaz in the land of Edom. These were the sons of Adah. And these are the sons of Ruel, Esau's son, Duke Nahath, Duke Zerah, Duke Shema, Duke Mizah. These are the dukes that came from Ruel in the land of Edom. These are the sons of Bashemath, Esau's wife. And these are the sons of Aholibamah, Esau's wife, Duke Jush, Duke Jalam, Duke Korah. These were the dukes that came of Aholibamah, the daughter of Anah, Esau's wife. And these are the sons of Esau, who is Edom, and these are their dukes. Verse 20. These are the sons of Seir, the Horite, who inhabited the land, Lotan and Shobal, and Zibeon and Anah, and Dishon and Ezer and Dishan. These are the dukes of the Horites, the children of Seir in the land of Edom. And the children of Lotan were Hori and Hemam, and Lotan's sister was Timnah. And the children of Shobal were these, Alvan and Manahath and Ebal, Shepo and Onam. And these are the children of Zibeon, both Ajah and Anah. This was that Anah that found the mules in the wilderness as he fed the asses of Zibeon, his father. And the children of Anah were these, Dishon and Aholibamah, the daughter of Anah. And these are the children of Dishon, Hemdan and Eshban and Ithran and Sharan. The children of Ezer are these, Bilhan and Zavan and Achan. The children of Dishan are these, Uz and Aran. These are the dukes that came of the Horites, Duke Lotan, Duke Shobal, Duke Zibeon, Duke Anah. And again, it's just repeating these same people, only it's putting a duke before their name. So we're going to just go down verse 31. And these are the kings that reigned in the land of Edom before there reigned any king over the children of Israel. So remember, the Israelite nation is just being born. It's literally Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and then these 12 sons. Joseph at this point, we're going to see in the very next chapter here in a minute, is 17 when they start in with the life of Joseph. And Benjamin just would have been a little boy. And Joseph and Benjamin were the youngest of the 12. So the Israelite nation was just getting started. So they didn't have kings yet. But from Esau's clan, they were establishing kings. It said, and these are the kings that reigned in the land of Edom before there reigned any king over the children of Israel. So they had kings before Israel did. And Bela, the son of Beor, reigned in Edom, and the name of his city was Dinhabah. And Bela died, and Jobab, the son of Zerah of Basra, reigned in his stead. And Jobab died, and Husham of the land of Timani reigned in his stead. And Husham died, and Hadad, the son of Bedad, who smote Midian in the field of Moab, reigned in his stead, and the name of his city was Avith. So this goes on and on and on. It goes through these different kings. Let's go down to the end. And these are the names of the dukes that came of Esau according to their families after their places by their names: Duke Timnah, Duke Alva, Duke Jethath, Duke Aholibamah, Duke Elah, Duke Pinon, Duke Kenaz, Duke Timon, Duke Mibzar, Duke Magdiel, Duke Iram. These be the dukes of Edom, according to their habitations in the land of their possession. He is Esau, the father of the Edomites. So there you have it. There's the family tree of Esau. So let's go ahead and get into chapter 37 and learn a little bit about Joseph. So if you're new to the Old Testament and some of these older stories and the origins of the Israelite nation, Joseph was a big part of this. We're going to see here that he's 17 years old as chapter 37 starts, and his brothers hate him. They sell him into slavery. He's taken down to Egypt, which is, if you look at a map, modern day Israel is here, and then Egypt is just south and west of that. Africa is just like right there, and then there's Israel and Africa. And so Egypt was just over the border, just down and over, south of the Mediterranean Sea. So you had Egypt and you had Israel, or Canaan back then, Israel today. And so they sold their brother Joseph into slavery. He was taken down to Egypt. He ended up in prison, and then he ended up being promoted as a warden within this prison. And everything that he did, it just prospered there in the prison. And so someone takes note of him, this man Potiphar, and he's made steward or manager over his entire household. And Potiphar was an important guy. Long story short, he ends up being made second in command of all of Egypt, only second to Pharaoh. And that's what we're going to see as we study the life of Joseph. So there's your big spoiler as we go through this. But it's really, really interesting, the life of Joseph. Not only his life, but in particular, it's interesting some of the parallels. He's coined as a typology of Jesus, or a type of Jesus, because there are so many commonalities between his life and Jesus's life. So and we'll talk more about that in another video. So let's go ahead and just get through chapter 37 and learn about the beginnings of Joseph here, while he still lived with his family. So chapter 37, verse 1. And Jacob dwelt in the land wherein his father was a stranger, in the land of Canaan. Remember, this is where God told them to go back to Canaan, and that's where Jacob and his family was living. Verse 2, these are the generations of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brethren, and the lad was with the sons of Bilhah and with the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. And Joseph brought unto his father their evil report. So they're shepherds. Joseph and his brother are shepherds. And here it mentions he's with his brothers. They're out feeding the flocks. It mentions his brothers, the sons of Bilhah. Remember, she was the handmaiden, and also the sons of Zilpah. She was the other handmaiden. It doesn't mention the sons of Leah, which is interesting. And of course, Benjamin just would have been a little boy, so he still would have been home. But it says that Joseph brought unto his father their evil report, which sounds to me like Joseph was sent out to kind of keep watch over the brothers and come home and tell on them if they did anything wrong, tell their father. It says, and Joseph brought unto his father their evil report. Verse 3, now Israel, that's Jacob, it says, Israel loved Joseph more than all his children, because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors. So, we're not really supposed to have favorites when it comes to parenting, but the author is very honest here. Jacob loved Joseph more than all his children. And he even had an outward expression of that by giving him this coat of many colors. And what you have to understand about a coat of many colors is that fabrics that were bright in color were meant for the wealthy and for royalty, because they were expensive. Everyone else wore drab colors or neutral colors or non-dyed colors, just non-colors. And so he made this coat of many colors. So it was an outward expression that he was his favorite. And of course, his brothers were very jealous. And remember, these brothers, just a few chapters ago, these are the same guys. When their sister Dinah was defiled or raped, they went out and killed an entire clan, an entire community of people. Well, they killed the men, and then they took all the women and children and all the wealth from the clan. So these guys, they were guilty of murder. I'm just mentioning this because it's not like they were just a bunch of docile shepherds. These men at this point in their life have experienced taking the life of other men. So he gives his son Joseph this coat of many colors. Verse 4, and when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him and could not speak peaceably unto him. So they hated him. They were angry. They probably picked on Joseph a lot. They probably beat him up a lot. They probably said a lot of mean things to him. They probably just weren't very nice to Joseph in general. Verse 5, and Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it to his brethren, and they hated him yet the more. And he said unto them, hear, I pray you, this dream which I have dreamed. He's saying to his brothers, listen, I want to tell you about this dream that I had, which is kind of stupid if you ask me, because he knows his brothers are jealous of him and that they hate him. So I don't know, you'd think he would just kind of keep his distance and mind his own business. But he has this dream, and he says, listen, I want you to check this dream out that I had. He says, for behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and lo, My sheaf arose and also stood upright, and behold, your sheaves stood round about and made obeisance to my sheaf. So he basically had a dream that they had these bundles of wheat. Each of them had their own bundle, and his bundle rose up, and then all the brothers' bundles stood around it and bowed down to Joseph's bundle of wheat. Verse 8, and his brethren said to him, shalt thou indeed reign over us, or shalt thou indeed have dominion over us? And they hated him yet the more for his dreams and for his words. Verse 9, and he dreamed yet another dream, and told it to his brethren, and said, behold, I have dreamed a dream more. And behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me. And he told it to his father and to his brethren, and his father rebuked him and said unto him, what is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to thee to the earth? So you remember his father, Jacob, loved him the best. And with this dream, he didn't respond by saying, oh, that's cute, honey. He rebukes him. So not only did it anger his brothers, but it angered his father. And he says he rebuked him and said unto him, what is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to thee to the earth? And his brethren, verse 11, his brethren envied him, but his father observed the saying. So this word observed, let's look at it really quick. It's verse 11. So this word observed in the Hebrew is shamar, and it means to hedge about, that is to guard, generally to protect, attend to, observe, preserve, regard, save, or wait for. So Jacob didn't really like what he heard, this idea that the whole family is going to bow down to Joseph. It says his brethren envied him, but his father observed the saying. So he tucked it away. A seed was planted in Jacob, and he tucked it away, that idea, for remembrance. Verse 12, and his brethren went to feed their father's flock in Shechem. And Israel said unto Joseph, do not thy brethren feed the flock in Shechem? Come, and I will send thee unto them. And he said to him, here I am. And he said to him, go, I pray thee, see whether it be well with thy brethren and well with the flocks, and bring me word again. So he sent him out of the vale of Hebron, and he came to Shechem. And a certain man found him, and behold, he was wandering in the field. And the man asked him, saying, what seekest thou? And he said, I seek my brethren. Tell me, I pray thee, where they feed their flocks. And the man said, they are departed hence, for I heard them say, let us go to Dothan. And Joseph went after his brethren and found them at Dothan. And when they saw him afar off, even before he came unto them, near unto them, they conspired against him to slay him. So they saw Joseph coming these would have been flat pasture lands. They saw him coming in the distance in his beautiful coat of many colors. They hated him. They envied him. Now he's having these dreams, two dreams where the whole family is bowing down before him. And they just are filled with anger and envy, and they really just hate Joseph. So they conspire to kill him. Remember, they're already murderers. Well, at least Reuben and Levi, I think it was, I don't remember. At least it says for sure that they, murdered all these people. And then the other brothers came in and helped, collect the spoils. So these guys weren't exactly like good guys or upright guys, right? So they saw him from afar off, even before he came near unto them, and they conspired against him to slay him. And they said one to another, behold, this dreamer cometh. Look, here comes the dreamer. Come now, therefore, and let us slay him. Now, it doesn't say who's speaking here. It just said, and they said to one another, behold, this dreamer cometh. Come now, therefore, and let us slay him and cast him into some pit. And we will say, some evil beast hath devoured him, and we shall see what will become of his dreams. Maybe they were just joking around. It doesn't really say, but it says in verse 21, it says, and Reuben heard it, and he delivered him out of their hands and said, let us not kill him. So it wouldn't have been all, so it would have been Jacob and or Joseph and Benjamin were brothers 11 and 12. So there could have been 10 brothers here. They might have been a little bit spread out. It just mentions the sons of Bilhah and Zilpah. So maybe the sons of Leah aren't there, or maybe they were there, but they were off doing other things. And then they came together when they saw Joseph coming. We don't really know. We know that there was some type of, they were speaking of killing him. And then Reuben overhears it, and he saves Joseph's life by intervening and saying, no, let's not kill him. Remember, this is the same Reuben that had sex with his father's wife, the firstborn, Jacob's firstborn. So, when I talk about these guys being, not very good guys, they're just people. And I think that's part of what we can glean from these stories is these were real people that did real things, good decisions, bad decisions, stupid decisions. They lived their lives with sorrows and celebrations, just like you and I do. And they made some good choices and some bad choices. Here, they've let their anger consume them, which I don't know if you've ever experienced that before, but I know I've been in situations where I've just been so mad. You just feel like you could kill somebody. Like you just get so angry. And I think that was what was happening here. They were just talking about it and they saw him coming and they just really hate that guy and they're talking about it and they decide, let's just kill him. And Reuben hears it and he says he delivered them out of their hands and said, let us not kill him. So Reuben overheard these brothers talking about conspiring to kill Joseph, and he took it seriously. He thought they meant what they said. And he says, no, let's not kill him. So what does he decide to do instead? So verse 22, here's what Reuben, the alternate plan. He says, shed no blood, but cast him into this pit that is in the wilderness and lay no hand upon him that he might rid him out of their hands to deliver him to his father again. So in other words, he knows about this pit over in the wilderness. He says, let's throw him in there. It sounds to me like he's trying to buy some time for these brothers to cool down, because his plan is that he wants to separate Joseph from the brothers. He says that he might rid him out of their hands to deliver him to his father again. He wants to put him in this pit temporarily, but he wants to deliver him to his father again. I mean, he knows how much his father loves Joseph. And so Reuben here, he has a certain degree of compassion. He doesn't want his father to have to mourn the loss of this slayed, favorite son. So that's Reuben's plan. He says, let's throw him in this pit. So verse 23, it says, and it came to pass when Joseph was come unto his brethren, so he shows up there where they're at, that they stripped Joseph out of his coat of many colors that was on him, and they took him and cast him into a pit, and the pit was empty. There was no water in it. And they sat down to eat bread, and they lifted up their eyes and looked, and behold, a company of Ishmaelites came from Gilead with their camels bearing spicery and balm and myrrh, going to carry it down to Egypt. So remember, the Ishmaelites, this is the clan, these are their cousins. They came from Gilead. They were heading to Egypt. And Judah said, so this is Judah now talking. Judah said unto his brethren, what profit is it if we slay our brother and conceal his blood? So they were conspiring before to kill Joseph. Now he's saying, what profit is it? If we just kill Joseph, there's nothing in it for us. So he sees these Ishmaelites coming and he thinks, let's sell this kid into slavery. And that way, at least we get something out of it. So what profit is it if we slay our brother and conceal his blood? Verse 27, come and let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him, for he is our brother and our flesh. And his brethren were content. So they thought it was a good idea. Yeah, let's sell him into slavery. Then there passed by Midianites merchantmen, and they drew and lifted up Joseph out of the pit and sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver. And they brought Joseph into Egypt. So these Ishmaelites bring him into Egypt. Verse 29, and Reuben returned unto the pit, and behold, Joseph was not in the pit, and he rent his clothes. So this whole transaction where they sold Joseph into slavery, for whatever reason, Reuben wasn't present for that. Remember, they were out there working. They were tending to their sheep. So for whatever reason, Reuben wasn't there when these Ishmaelites showed up, and they pulled Joseph out of the pit and sold him. So Reuben goes back to the pit thinking maybe, my brothers have cooled down. I'm going to pull Joseph out of this pit. And poor Joseph, I just can't even imagine. I mean, his brothers rip off his coat and throw him into this pit. I mean, maybe he was used to being tortured by his brothers. So, maybe he was pleading and crying, don't do that, stop, or whatever. But maybe he was used to it. And maybe he didn't really fear for his life because this was kind of the norm. But then they pulled him out of the pit and they exchanged money and off he went. He would have understood he was just sold into slavery and he's probably never going to see his family again. So it says Reuben went, to get Joseph out of the pit, and it says he wasn't there, and he rent his clothes, which is to tear your clothes, which was custom. When men would grieve, they would rip their clothes, and it was an outward expression that they were grieving. So if you looked at his man and his robe was torn, you knew that they were grieving. Verse 30, and he returned unto his brethren and said, the child is not, and I, whither shall I go? In other words, I don't want to go home to my father without Joseph. He's missing. I don't want to be the one to tell dad that your favorite son is missing. So he returns to his brethren and said, the child is not, and I, whither shall I go? And they took Joseph's coat and killed a kid of the goats and dipped the coat in blood. So at this point, the brothers would have told Reuben, well, we sold him. We sold him to the Ishmaelites. He's gone. And I don't know how much time has gone by. It probably was a significant amount of time. In other words, Reuben would have been like, oh, no, you didn't. Let's go get him back. Show me the money. Let's go buy him back. I think a certain amount of time had gone by when Reuben came back and discovered he was gone. And it was too late. So they decide now they're going to take Joseph's coat. They're going to dip it in the goat's blood, and they're going to take it back to Jacob and say, you shouldn't have sent Jacob out in the wilderness alone because he's been devoured by a lion or whatever, which, that kind of thing would have happened. It wasn't an unreasonable lie. So they dipped the coat in the blood, and they sent the coat of many colors, and they brought it to their father and said, this we have found. Know now whether it be thy son's coat or no. So in other words, here we found this bloody coat. Is it Joseph's? That's how they presented it to their dad, knowing full well that it was Joseph's coat. They know exactly what happened to Joseph because they're guilty of it. So they lied to their dad. Verse 33, and he knew it and said, it is my son's coat. An evil beast hath devoured him. Joseph is without doubt rent in pieces. So Jacob is basically saying, my son's been torn to pieces by a wild beast. So he thinks he's dead. It says, and Jacob rent his clothes, so he tore his clothes, and he put sackcloth upon his loins, which was another custom that they would do when they were grieving. And he says he mourned for his son for many days. And all his sons and all his daughters rose up to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. And he said, for I will go down into the grave unto my son mourning. Thus his father wept for him. In other words, Jacob is saying, I will mourn for the rest of my life. I'll never get over this. Don't even try to comfort me because there's no point to it. I will always mourn. And I don't know about you, if you've ever lost someone really close to you, that's kind of how you feel. You feel like your grief and your mourning is like a life sentence that you will never get over. And then verse 36 says, and the Midianites sold him, that's Joseph, into Egypt unto Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh's and captain of the guard. So that's the end of the chapter there. It kind of stops there. And then we go into next time we'll do chapter 38. It takes a little bit of a side rail or a derail from the story, and it tells a really interesting story. We'll talk about it next time. And then we get back into chapter 39, and it continues on with the life of Joseph. So you can read ahead if you want, or you can stay tuned for next time. But all right, so that's it, guys, for today's study. Thank you for joining me. As always, I'm praying for you guys, for your strength. I'm praying God is drawing you close to him. giving you courage during these times, and really providing for your needs. And most importantly, keeping you from evil and protecting you from deceit, giving you discernment between what is good and what is evil, what is true and what is lies. There's plenty of lies to go around, and any of us can fall victim to those lies if we're not drawing near to our Lord and really fanning those flames of the Holy Spirit that lives inside of us. And one way we can fan the flames of the Spirit that lives inside of us is to be in the Word, is to be in the Word of God. Of course, we can, be in the gathering, go to church, worship. We can pray, and we can be faithful to our God. But one way that I find that personally really draws me close to the Lord and strengthens my faith is to read the Bible and study the Bible, really study it. So, all right, guys, well, that's it for today. I pray you're well. I pray you're strengthened. I pray you're strong and courageous, and I pray you're faithful. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you here next time.